if you're new here, our 1 degree shift is this idea that small changes in your trajectory, aka 1 degree shift in your trajectory, compound over the long haul. So if you were to continue driving your plane or your boat on that 1 degree shift trajectory for thousands of miles, you would end up in a drastically different place than had you not implemented that 1 degree shift. And so we are all about playing the long game. We said it's part of our mission statement. So what are the little habits that you can do? 1% difference every day, 1 degree difference every day.
Hey, 1 Degree fam, I'm Nathaniel.
And I'm Zan, and this is the 1 Degree Podcast, where we talk about what it looks like to be married as followers of Jesus.
Look, we know that life gets full. Marriage, kids, work, church, sports, the list goes on and on. But we believe that a thriving marriage does not happen by accident.
Each episode will give you real conversations, practical tools, and biblical encouragement to help you connect deeply with your spouse and live on mission together.
So, whether you're folding laundry, driving to work, or maybe even working out, we're glad you're here with us.
Let's dive in.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
This is probably the first ever that we haven't started with what's up, 1 degree fam.
What is up, 1 Degree fam? Welcome back.
That's my job. That's my one job here.
It's the comfy, cozy, virtual leather couch.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. When you're listening to this, it'll be how many days into it? 5? Maybe.
See,
It could be a couple years into.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 5. Or it could be,
I was going to say, it could be 2027. Yeah.
When you're listening to this.
If that's the case,
you're
please
get your year right.
Please message me somehow. If you find whatever, hopefully.
From the future.
If you're in 2029 right now, I would love to hear that you're listening to this. Okay. Anyway, how's our New Year going? I don't know. It's not actually here yet. It's the 30th. I was
really
just gonna try
to
makeshift intro
casual.
Here.
What are we excited about on New Year's Day?
Guys, I love New Year's. I am your classic. I love a Monday. I love a New Year. I'm like stoked.
What does that mean? I'm a classic. I love a Monday. That's not classic.
No,
people don't like
because
Mondays.
You know why? Because you're not that. The people who know. I love a fresh start. I love a fresh week. I love a fresh calendar page for the week. I love a fresh planner for the year. Yeah.
I love New Year's.
So you're not that.
I don't love Mondays.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay.
What are we excited about on New Year's Day specifically?
Roll Tide. If this didn't age well, that's really sad. But
Alabama football.
We're Bama grads, and they're in the Rose Bowl on Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's kind of weird
for that.
Knowing that who knows what happened.
Who knows what happened? Well, that's why we're not talking trash.
But here, I'm going to say I never talk trash for that reason. And just in general, I don't like it. It's ugly. It's an ugly part of sports. But anyway, if we don't, we'll put it on the record that if Alabama doesn't win, we're going for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to pull a Zan here and be like, what are we talking about today?
Yes. We love a clunky transition. We are talking about the one habit that we think you need to implement in 2026. And if you've been around here, if you're loyal, if you listen all the time, you're like, I already know what you're going to say.
Yep.
And that's perfect because we can't say it enough.
But we're going to give it a little bit of a build up, a lead up. And so we're not jumping there yet because I want to address the fact that there are multiple great habits and great rhythms that you could put into your life, whether they revolve around finances, whether they revolve around eating healthy, exercising, whatever it may be. So when we say like the one habit to implement, that doesn't discount the other habits. We are just saying in your marriage, there is one thing that we have talked about numerous times that has revolutionized.
Yes, that is a word, and it is applicable here.
Our marriage, and it is the one habit, it is the one rhythm that we constantly come back to say this has had the greatest impact on our marriage. And we think if you are married and listening to it, there is no greater...
Married and listening to what?
This episode. There is no greater rhythm or habit that you could implement in your marriage to help foster a connected, thriving
I'm going to just give all the disclaimers. There are. Like, you
Okay.
could be devoted to the Lord and going to church
Yes.
together,
Yeah,
and those
yeah.
things, those are far more important than
Yeah.
this. Okay.
Okay.
But we
With the
just, for
caveat.
the sake of SEO, you have to make this worthy of clicking.
No, for the sake of hype and build up.
I know. I just want to be real here that we don't think this. There are plenty of marriages that have been so Christ-centered and so long-standing
this.
that had
Yes, I know.
never heard of this. So I don't want to ever act like you need this.
So drum roll, please. Zan.
A weekly marriage meeting. I don't know. Did I go too early? But anyway, I thought we were backtracking. I thought we were like drawing it out a little more because we were going to talk about the like failure date, you know?
The failure date.
Of
Good point.
Yeah, that was on it's on our little bullet point.
Yeah,
Quitter's Day.
Take it away.
Okay, so I'm not going to give you all the real data mainly because I don't have it written down right here. But
I do.
Well, no,
I
have I have the same thing written down as you, but this isn't like, hey, according to this Barna poll. Like, we don't have the source.
Yeah, but I did have the source.
It doesn't matter. It's okay.
Okay.
Just Google it, guys. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
But approximately 80% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions within the first few weeks. I think that I've heard more likely it's within the first 2 weeks.
No.
Only 8, we talked about this at least in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It could have been last episode. Only 8% actually keep the resolutions for the entire year. I will say I think that's an impressively high amount given that 80% give up. But again, we talked about this last time. It's like, okay, well, you weed out the people that aren't going to make the habit. And once you've done something, bless you. Once you've done something for 21 days, they say that's the power of a habit. Okay, so like if you get over that first hurdle, I think the retention rate is going to be significantly higher.
Yes.
It's just about getting over that first hurdle.
And I actually looked this up. This is true. So on
the running app, I was going to get into this because I thought it was
Strava,
super interesting.
Yeah, the second Friday of the New Year's is actually known as Quitter's Day on Strava.
Because they have that data.
App.
They can see like how many people stuck to their running plan, how many people just stopped running.
And
it's
that's
really interesting.
That is when they say they see a massive drop off in activity and people running, all that kind of stuff.
I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, that makes perfect sense. So for us this year, the second Friday of the year will not even have been a full, like that'll be one work week, you know? Like because we're starting the new year on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And it does make sense though, because it's like the weekend. If you're not committed, the weekend is so easy, especially if you have like a fitness or some kind of action resolution or goal or whatever it is. Like that's easy to taper off if you're not committed. And so it makes sense that it's on the second Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember when I did look this up. I can't remember if they said that technically this year it's the 9th or if it's the 16th.
Like forecasted to be.
Yeah, like what
the Quitter's Day, guys. That's crazy that they call it that, but it makes sense. I mean, the workouts I do, I've talked about them. The Nourish Move Love. She, I think, said day 3 or 4 in all of her programs, she sees the biggest drop off. Like they're 2-week programs or 10-day programs, and people often don't get past day 2 or 3. It's just makes sense. I mean, it takes like a different level of discipline and commitment to see things through. So anyway, with that being said, we wanted to share, like we said, take all the caveats or what word am I going for? Okay. If you're watching the video, he's holding up the journal. Take all those obvious caveats, or maybe they're not obvious, but I'll address the idea that, like, yes, of course, going to church together, praying together, these core spiritual disciplines together, we think are more valuable than having a weekly marriage meeting. If you are having a weekly marriage meeting, but you're not worshiping together, if you're having a weekly marriage meeting, but you're not praying together, if you're having a weekly marriage meeting, but you're not like doing these basic rhythms of healthy spiritual, whatever, relational things, for lack of a better word, then no, this isn't going to magically fix everything. Though, because of how we structure the weekly marriage meeting, it will be holding you accountable in all of those, what we believe are vital areas for your foundational marriage health. So without further ado.
You have been living under a rock when it comes to the 1 degree
or you're
world.
new here. I know we have a bunch of new people.
Yeah, no, if you're new here or you just are living under a rock, you have most likely heard us talk about the weekly marriage meeting and something we love, something we're passionate about, if you can't tell already. And so we're just going to break down what exactly is a weekly marriage meeting and what do you actually do in a weekly marriage meeting and why is it important and all of that good stuff.
So we're going to do this. I told Nathaniel, I was like, let's actually physically grab the journal. If you're not watching, there's nothing to see here other than we're physically going through it. But I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm trying to like actually walk you through exactly what we do. In the first couple pages.
Well, I just want to really quick set the foundation of what is a weekly marriage meeting. It is a dedicated time. It is a time on the calendar once a week that you and your spouse sit down undistractedly and you work through. It's the purpose of it is to get on the same page for deeper communication, for emotional connection, all of those kind of things. You're going to work through questions, and we'll talk exactly what it entails in a second, but that's kind of the key component where it is an undistracted. For us, it's usually 30 minutes to an hour once a week. We do ours on Sunday nights after the kids go to bed, and then we go through it and we do it.
I think Sunday nights, you can do it obviously any night of the week, depending on your schedule. You might not
Or
be
morning
together
or
Sunday.
whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it looks like the best. For us mentally, I like the Sunday nights because we're kind of closing out the past week. It's like a time of reflection on the past week. We're preparing. Sunday night is my okay, I'm getting in my mind, what groceries do I need to get? I'm in that pre-Monday. Some people call it Sunday scaries, but again, I love a Monday. So I'm in that mindset. And so for me, that's a really good time for us to have this meeting because we do talk about logistical things too. The other thing I was going to say is the heart behind a weekly marriage meeting and what we've seen from other couples who have done it or been drawn to it is that so often, even if you have a healthy marriage, you are just your life is full, especially if you're in the season of having kids at home. You're running every which direction. You both are working or taking kids, whatever it is. And you miss that intentional time to just sit down and have a structured conversation. People can push back on isn't that stuffy? But so often you might get time where it's okay, we're sitting for 30 minutes, but you're so mentally tired. You have so much mental load throughout the day that you don't even necessarily have a fruitful conversation because there isn't that direction.
Or you sit for 30 minutes, it's I'm just so exhausted. I just want to scroll. I just want to numb. I just want to veg out, whatever that looks like.
But I even giving people the benefit of the doubt of trying to have it. It's without guided questions, it could default to just not a whole lot being discussed. And so I love efficiency. So to be efficient with your time and your quality intentionality together, that's why we love the meeting.
And kind of like where you were going, it's so easy in the midst of that busyness where you just begin to feel like ships in the night. You feel kind of like roommates, or you feel like the bulk of your conversations and connection comes around logistics. Who is doing the chores, who is getting the kids, who is doing X, Y, Z, the budgeting or paying the bills or whatever. And it's those become the main drivers of your conversation, where we were made and created for so much more than that, especially when it comes to our spouse. And so this just gives us a tool, a resource to help us reconnect, to help us, in corporate terms, pursue alignment on kind of the past week and also the coming week. And it's just, like we said, it has been the most transformational tool or rhythm that we have implemented.
Yeah, we've been going 7 years strong, I want to say.
Yeah.
6 at least.
And we've had little lulls. And,
I think ever since we created a makeshift journal, not the one that we have currently, a few, 3 or so years ago. Yeah. And that helped us be consistent. And I think lately we've just been extra consistent. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to go through the structure, kind of speed go through it because I don't want to bore you, but
this is exactly what we do in our weekly marriage meeting. And so when you're hearing this, your weekly marriage meeting doesn't have to look the same as ours. And so take what you like, throw out what you don't, but we just wanted to give you a picture of what ours look like. So like we said, we have a set time on the calendar. So Sunday nights after the kids go to bed, we don't have plans. We don't have other things. It's around 8:00-ish. We sit down and we do our weekly marriage meeting. Now, sometimes we've been doing it for a while where the first part of it is asking questions, and we go through a list of questions where when we're doing that, sometimes we'll be doing dishes or cleaning up or something like that. But usually, at least by the second half, we're just sitting having the conversation. So we start with, why don't you just flip to...
I wanted to address that we have these established from the front end.
Oh, okay. What established?
That we know what our mission statement is and our core values, because that's a big piece of what we do in our marriage meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I'm going through step by step of the journal, because in the opening pages, we have kind of an explanation and then a area to brainstorm on crafting your family mission statement. And so this is something we've done full episodes on this, but this is basically this is a statement that is true of our family in any season. It's true of us when we had newborns. It's true. It will be true of our family, our marriage, when we're 80 years old.
So our family mission statement is to pursue faithfulness, play the long game, travel as a pack. In any order. Sometimes we say pursue faithfulness, travel as a pack, play the long game.
Yeah.
But that's our Sibley family mission statement.
Then the next page of this, again, you don't need these pages, but these are things that we've established before we have a weekly marriage meeting, is crafting your core values. So we basically go through and we would say you should have like 3 to 6 core values that are the priorities of what you want to be assessing each week that you've been maintaining. So we have,
wait, let's see if we
we always have to quiz ourselves.
Well, I'm going to see if I can do it without looking.
Yeah.
Spiritual disciplines, holistic health, financial stewardship, cleanliness and organization, family time, and which one am I missing?
Well, you said holistic health.
Hospitality.
Hospitality. Good job. Yeah, usually we list that. Yep. Okay, so with that established, we go through our meeting. So we write down the week that we're in, and then we both share our high-low and buffalo of the past week. Again, if you're...
What is a high-low buffalo?
I was going to say, if you're new here, you might not know what that is. Otherwise, you probably do. So high, best part of your week. How is the fly still making an appearance, guys? It's crazy.
Always.
In the winter, I'm like not expecting them. So high, best part of your week. Something to celebrate, something to praise the Lord for. Low, a worst part of your week. Something that was a struggle. Maybe you've talked about it. Maybe it's really obvious, but maybe it's something that you are like getting off your chest in that moment. It's something to pray about. Those types of things. Buffalo is fun. It's just something funny that happened, something random, something you learned. I mean, something random would be the way to encompass
anything random.
What a buffalo is. Yeah. But it's a fun way. I think it's a fun way to intentionally rack your brain for something you otherwise might not share. Kind of just add some texture.
And so what we like to do is just a super quick. So this is the start. We sit down, we have our journal. We start by doing a super quick rundown of what did this last week look like? Because honestly,
sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what happened.
Yeah. So it's like, what were some of the highlights that we did this week? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. What did we even do this week? And then after we've done that, we each say, what were our high, low buffalo? And that's just honestly such a fun way to start off the meeting.
Yeah. And just kind of sets the tone. It's like roses or thorns or things you've I'm sure done this in a small group or a work meeting, whatever it is. We physically write those down. So there's a space in our journal that we write those. The reason is because it's just fun. I kind of think of the journal itself. I promise this isn't supposed to be like one big ad for this journal. But the reason we made this part, because the other parts, we don't necessarily write them all down for all these questions because we don't want it to we want you to be able to do it while you're doing the dishes or something, because that's how we do our meeting. We're usually multitasking, folding the laundry and stuff. So I don't want to sit and write an answer to every question. But the high-low buffalo, I think it's fun to slow down and answer that because you can look back and it's kind of this like legacy journal to look back on. Legacy, heirloom, whatever, something to look back on.
Yeah.
So then we go through a list of 3, 6,
12,
9, 10.
10 questions.
Well, 11 including the high-low buffalo.
Yeah, but 10 questions.
10 additional questions where, we will read these to you.
Yeah, I want to make this quick because I don't want it to be boring, but I also don't want to feel like it's just gunfire, like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. So
okay.
We're not going to do.
We're not going to do gunfire.
No.
Okay. I just want to share them all.
Yeah. Okay. So let's share them all. And then maybe if there's good context to give with one of them or a couple of them, we can give that context.
Got it.
So the first one we talk about is we each ask each other this question. So we've done our high-low buffalo.
Practically, if you're somebody who really likes practicals, we kind of designate a writer. So somebody's sitting there with the pen and they're checking these boxes off as we go.
Okay. So then we go through these questions. First of all, how was your time in the Word and prayer? And ultimately, as Christians, we believe that our relationship with the Lord is our most important relationship. And then we believe our relationship with our spouse is our most important earthly relationship. And so I think it's so important to kind of start the meeting by addressing, hey, how was your time with the Lord? Your time in Word, time in prayer. And that's where we always start. The next question.
I will also give, I'm sorry, maybe we're giving too much color and context, but so for instance, I'm even thinking about our most recent meeting. If it's like, not so good, we're not like, okay, check. It's like, okay, how can we put in steps to make it better this week? Yeah. Like these questions are a springboard into follow-up questions. Yeah. So for instance, this past week, both of us, it was just not great. Our consistency in prayer and in the Word.
It was bad.
Yeah, mine wasn't terrible. I had found my Bible study, but I wasn't going to throw you under the bus. Anyway, we decided, we're like, okay, so what does it look like in this season, this current one, just like not even like this broad parenting season, but like right now where we are with what we have, how can we be most consistent? And we decided, hey, we've always been shooting for it in the morning, but with everything that happens in our mornings and like where we're giving our best quality time and then to not rush through something, what if we try for a while having this be like our nighttime wind down, like screens away, and we have our Bible study time in bed. We share a takeaway, we pray, and we go to bed. And that's what so that was what a shift that we made on Sunday, and we've been doing that this week. And I personally have liked it because I know I'm like looking forward to that time at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
So
that's been good. And that's what I used
That's an
to do.
example of if we didn't have this checkpoint, we may not have ever made that adjustment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good point. A part of this is to allow it to be springboard you into further conversation. And then I think the biggest piece of this and the most helpful aspect of the journal is it allows for intentionality and allows for kind of you to naturally have these conversations. I kind of gave the example. We're going to go through here and it'll be one of the questions, but there's a question about physical intimacy, and sometimes that can be really hard to try to bring up naturally.
If it's like a point of tension in your marriage,
or if you
yeah.
want to try something, do something, it's just how do I bring this up well? Well, we have a question where we talk about how has our intimacy been physically and emotionally.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead.
Yeah, I am jumping ahead, but I'm saying is that when you have this set time, it's not awkward to bring it up because you're just answering the question and you're going to be talking about it. Both of you know you're going to be talking about it. And I think that's a huge piece of just the intentionality, and then it allows you to have difficult conversations without trying to think of ways to bring them up.
Yeah,
so
it creates that space. So.
Yeah. So how was time in word and prayer was the first one. Then we go into how did I serve you well last week? So this is just an opportunity to shout out your spouse, praise them for some way that they served you well last week.
I think the importance of this is because, one, for you answering this, it causes you to reflect with gratitude. You have to think back. It can be maybe unnatural to think back on, like, what do I actually appreciate? How did I feel served well? And then two, it's encouraging to the person receiving it. One, just everyone loves some affirmation, even if you say you don't. And two, it's like, oh, they felt loved and served by that. That might not have even been something, again, it goes kind of like the love language thing. You might not even think that that's something that served them well, but it was. So it's encouraging, I think, to both people, or it's fruitful for both people.
Yeah. And then the next question is, how can I best serve you this week? So going into this new week, how can I best serve you? What is one way that I can serve you entering in this new week?
Yep.
And
I'm not going to give too much commentary.
Yeah. And then after that is, did we handle conflict well? If not, how could we have handled it better? And honestly, this question is super helpful because for us, it's just, usually it is, oh, yep, conflict is great. We don't have anything. We handled it well. But when we do have it and we haven't handled it well, which I feel like the past couple of weeks, we've had a couple instances where we haven't handled it well.
The holidays have kind of caused.
This allows us to really debrief and talk about, okay, what happened? Why did it not go well? Is there any unresolved? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's
we
the next
break
question.
that down. Yeah. The next question is any conflict unresolved?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the only color I would add to that is that we have we've had episodes on this, but we have a conflict resolution plan. And so this is really kind of an easy question to answer of, like, were there times where we just did not stick to that and we started spiraling, and why, and what can we do differently next time?
Yep.
Then we have we been faithful stewards of God's money and stuck to our budget? So this is kind of purposely a broader question. It's not just, the have we stuck to our budget piece is pretty practical. Like, you can go on your Every Dollar app, your Mint app, whatever you're using for your budget. First of all, you should have that. Yeah. But that's another episode that we've also recorded. But that one, you can be like, okay, yes or no. We have stuck to our budget, or no, we just simply haven't. But been faithful stewards of God's money kind of opens up that broader conversation of, like, are we being generous? Are we, what does it look like to save well, give sacrificially in this season, and kind of, to have those discussions. Then
faithful stewards.
That leads into how can we be generous with our time, talents, and treasures this week? So practically, this will look like, okay, do we know of any needs in our church and our community that we could meet with our either things that we own or our money. And then time, like are there any, I think it goes down to like, are we aware of any needs that we can meet and how can we be generous? Or sometimes we'll have the conversation of, hey, we should, especially because we value hospitality, that's one of our core values, like we should have these people over for dinner this week. This is something, that's a way we can be generous with our time, is hosting or inviting people in our home.
And then the next question is what I already kind of talked about earlier, but how has our intimacy been, both physically and emotionally?
So that opens up that question. I mean, obviously talking about like, how has your sex life been? Are there areas where you both feel, or where either of you feel uncomfortable or maybe like desiring more, whatever it may be. But then a lot of times that leads into a conversation of like, hey, I've just felt emotionally distant, and thus there's been physical distance, those kind of things. So again, that's creating that space for that is, I think, very helpful, because that's a conversation that can be so touchy to bring up without defensiveness throughout the week. What's our schedule? So we end kind of logistically. Second to last question. What is our schedule for the week, and what expectations do we have for each other? Practically, this looks like we take out our phones and look at our calendar. We do the shared, if you do Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever it is, we look at our week and we go one by one through making sure that we haven't missed adding anything. We kind of live and die by our calendar, I feel like. That's like how we stay on the same page. But things like, hey, this lunch break I'll be home, this one I won't be. I'm going to need you to pick up the kids this day.
New Year's Day, we're going to have people over to watch the Rose Bowl. Just being on the same page with everything like that.
Anything out of the ordinary. This is when it comes to the question of what expectations do we have. Sometimes you'll be like, this is going to be a really heavy work week for me. I just need you to handle bedtime so that I can clock in later, or I need you to just be understanding of me having to go into the office early. Like those types of conversations we'll have. And vice versa. Sometimes I'll tell you like, hey, I'm just going to be doing a lot at night. Like I need you to handle bedtime because I'm going to need to, like as soon as you get home from work, I'm going to need to tap into stuff. So just being upfront, like when we know that something's going to be out of the ordinary, a lot of times, I would say 90% of the time, conflict can be avoided with just proper expectations.
And communication with that. And so having that time where we just go through the future schedule and we say, okay, hey, here are some expectations, all that. It helps us stay on the same page.
For sure.
And healthy communication. And then we have a fun question in there too. That's just in the
journal specifically. When we were prior to having the journal, we would go through these questions just in a list on our phone. When I made the journal, I was like, I'm going to put 52 random questions. And they honestly, to me, still feel like a surprise because I did them all at once and don't remember what they are. So when we get to it, it's just fun. This is the sample page. But like the past few ones, I'm like, oh, these are just fun to answer. But like this past Sunday, we did, would you rather have a personal chef or a personal driver? Actually, we answered that very boringly because we were very quickly like personal chef. But in the past, I feel like they've been like maybe more fun.
What's your favorite inside joke of ours? That was fun. What's something that made you laugh this week? There's just all those different kinds of questions.
So anyway,
and
again,
we have a fun question. And then lastly, we end with what are 3 things we appreciate about each other. And this again is we write them down of, hey, here are 3 things that we appreciate about one another.
And I think this is similar to the serving each other well. I think this is very fruitful because gratitude breeds contentment. And so you looking for things that you're grateful for in your spouse just orients your heart towards gratefulness for them. And it cannot hurt to voice gratitude when you have it and to voice appreciation. And practically speaking, when we were organizing this journal, we wanted this to end positively in case you had any conversations about conflict, like in case it was a slightly more heated or just like emotional meeting, it's good to end on that note of appreciation or like end the first half because spoiler, there's a second half. Well, I would say this is like the first 75%.
I would say the first half or 75%.
You think? But time?
But first half, because depending on, it just depends. You can whip through the second half or it can take longer.
That's true.
And so then on the back half, these are the questions that we go through. And then the second half, this is where when Zan was breaking down the mission statement and the values, this is where those come into play because then we write down our mission statement. And then
every week we write it down because you can easily forget it.
Yeah, you just write it down and then we just do a really quick just evaluation. Have we lived this out? Have we not? How can we live it out better? Then we write down our family values. We write down our values and we give them a score of 1 to 5. And so we give them a score. We talk through why did we give this a 2? Why did we give this a 5? Why did we give this a 3? all that kind of stuff. So you talk through each one, you give it a score 1 to 5, and then you choose one of those values, and that's going to be your main focus for the upcoming week. And so this past week, I think our spiritual disciplines, we ranked it a 2. And so we said, okay, this week, that's going to be our primary focus. What are we going to do to make that our primary focus? Well, we are going to, like Zan said, we're going to shift when we do our quiet times. We're going to do them together in bed before going to bed. And then we're going to talk about, hey, what's one thing that stood out? What's one thing that we learned? We're going to pray together before bed. That's one way we're going to do that. Let's see, what else did we say? We said that
And then,
we would have a midday prayer check-in of how can I be praying for you? Or can we just, what's something that's on your heart that we can pray for? And so those are going to be the 2 big specific ways that we are going to specially focus on this
specifically, yeah.
this specific value. Yep.
And then after we do our core value focus and flesh out what that actually looks like, focusing on it, we do praises from last week. So practically, I will usually turn the page back and look at what our prayers from last week were and see if any of those were answered tangibly.
Yep.
So we praise things that were good from the past week. And then we have another section for prayer focuses for this week, things that we can actively pray for right now, that we can remember to be praying for throughout the week.
And that's how you wrap up your weekly marriage meeting. And I think for us too, this is why it's helpful to write it down, is because like Zan said, typically we'll flip backwards to see, oh, what were we praying for last week? What did we say was burdening us? All of that kind of stuff. And then, oftentimes we can it's so easy to forget how the Lord provides, but when you write it down, it's so cool to be able to look back and be like, oh man, this is just incredible. And something that I was so worried about, the Lord was faithful and he provided. And I think it's so neat to be able to look back. And then I think it's a helpful reminder of we have some specific people and some specific things that we want to be praying for. So to be able to end that time with saying, hey, this is who we want to be praying for. This is what we want to be praying for as we go into next week. And it's just kind of a reminder of, who you could be praying for. And I will say this, like Zan said, this wasn't supposed to be, kind of
this wasn't like a strategic plug for the
journal. What I will say, whether or not you get the weekly marriage meeting journal, whether you do your own thing and you say, hey, I don't like those questions, but there's a different list of questions that I would want to go through. I'm going to make my own tool resource. That's great. That's the intent of this podcast, is we just want to encourage you to set aside some time to regularly sit down with your spouse, to talk through questions, to get on the same page, and to just be united, unified in your marriage. And I think that's kind of the hope, the goal, the intent of this. We had our weekly marriage meeting for years before we made this journal, and it was still incredibly pivotal. It was incredibly helpful and beneficial for us. And so that's just our big encouragement for you. And I don't know.
Yeah, our 1 degree shift is to just start having a weekly marriage meeting. If you're new here, our 1 degree shift is this idea that small changes in your trajectory, aka 1 degree shift in your trajectory, compound over the long haul. So if you were to continue driving your plane or your boat on that 1 degree shift trajectory for thousands of miles, you would end up in a drastically different place than had you not implemented that 1 degree shift. And so we are all about playing the long game. We said it's part of our mission statement. So what are the little habits that you can do? 1% difference every day, 1 degree difference every day, to implement drastic change in the long haul. So start having that meeting, like Nathaniel said, however that looks for you. The biggest encouragement I'll give you is to protect that time, to put it on the calendar and to treat it like you would an appointment with your boss. Treat it like you would, a work meeting or something where you can't just say.
If you're a sports fan and, the Super Bowl or this big game, Alabama is playing 3:00 in the Rose Bowl. I guarantee at 3:00 on Thursday, New Year's Day, we will be here watching the game. Treat it like you would something that is important, because honestly, there isn't too much more important things that you could do to invest in your marriage. So treat it like so.
Invest in your marriage, yeah. All right. That's our encouragement for you. We're happy you're here. We love you, 1 degree fam. Catch you next week.
Love you, 1 degree fam.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of the 1 Degree Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd be so appreciative if you take just a few seconds to leave a rating and a quick review. We love to hear your feedback, and those ratings really do help make it easier for others to find this podcast.
And if you want to continue this chat or share your takeaways, we'd love to hear from you. Head on over to our Instagram at the 1 Degree Podcast and leave a comment or send us a DM. We can't wait to hear from you. Catch you next week, 1 Degree fam.